Our AJC's Director of International Affairs.
Thank you, Amy. Minister, Excellencies, colleagues, dear friends, thank you for offering me the privilege of being part of this OXI Day celebration and this kickoff of a round of important and intensive AJC meetings with Chicago-based diplomats, our Midwest diplomatic marathon. With our Hellenic brethren, this evening we not only celebrate events and displays of national honor of the past, paying tribute to the righteous defiance and noble sacrifice of Greek patriots in the face of the Axis powers 74 years ago, we celebrate as well an enduring bond, an increasingly strong and vital alliance between two civilizations, two nations, two peoples, the Hellenes and the Jews. AJC is proud of the contributions that we have made over the years to Greek-Jewish cooperation, advancing this alliance pioneered by two legendary Chicagoans of blessed memory, Endy and Maynard Wishner, is an important element of our international, interreligious, and interethnic agenda. The bonds of friendship and solidarity between our sister communities over the last century or so of European immigration are so natural as to be almost unremarkable. And on policy matters of importance to both of our communities, relating to religious discrimination here or in countries in the Eastern Mediterranean, the settling of bitter regional conflicts, and the assurance of stability and the protection of vital U.S. interests, AJC has been privileged to partner with Greek American organizations, especially HELP, with community leaders here and in cities across America, and of course with the Greek Orthodox Church. It is against this background of brotherhood and partnership that AJC just last month met privately in Athens and in New York with the heads of government and senior ministers of Greece and Cyprus, a continuation of long-standing and fruitful conversations. We are fully committed to such exchanges at the highest and the broadest levels, and fully supportive of the burgeoning relationship in strategic, energy, trade, technical, and other sectors between Israel and Greece and between Israel and Cyprus. I think it's also always important to note that AJC is not motivated to promote the benefits of enhanced Greek-Cypriot-Israeli ties as a bulwark against the political or strategic influence or ambitions of any other state. There is a natural logic. There are natural synergies and sympathies and values in the deepening interconnection of Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. The mutual discovery and elaboration of these synergies is a dramatically positive development for these countries and their peoples, and for peace and stability in a volatile region. I'd like to close with an expression of profound appreciation to you, Minister Kikilias, for the principled steps taken by Athens to confront extremist, racist, and anti-Semitic forces that have regrettably assumed a place in Greek politics in recent years. The fact that 80% of the leadership of Golden Dawn is now in jail is testament to the Greek government's resolve to fight this menace and its fidelity to the values of democracy that are Greece's enduring gift to all mankind. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isaacson. One of the greatest accomplishments in the HELC-AJC relationship was the formation of the Congressional Hellenic-Israeli Alliance Caucus. This was an idea that was discussed at a joint HELC-AJC meeting with Congressman Buhler in July of 2012, and was launched the following February with the help of our next speaker, Congressman Brad Schneider.
Thank you and good evening. It is a great privilege to be here. Andy, you said something that I think couldn't be more poignant, and especially at the place I am right now in my week. But judge me by the friends I'm surrounded by, and it is so good to be judged by the friends I have in this room. Both AJC, it's good to see. I miss being on the board, more than I can possibly tell you, but also how. And the friendship between the two organizations, to me, is one of the greatest sources of pride I have in our Chicago community, but also in Congress. It was a great honor a year ago, February, almost 2 years ago now, to be able to be a part of the founding of the Congressional Hellenic Israel Alliance, and the caucus that understands the importance of the friendship between these two countries with the United States. But it is a bond more than countries. It is a bond between people. I go back to the first time Endy and I sat down and talked about our experiences growing up. And you talked about Greek school. I can tell you about Saturday school. But the experience of understanding from generation to generation the values that are passed down and the history that is shared. And knowing, as Amy touched on, that in Jewish tradition, we raise our children with a clear understanding of what never again means, and working to put that into action. And understanding of what OXI Day means, and putting that into action. The ability to say no and stand up to tyranny that we see on march around the world. The resolve to understand that the sacrifice is necessary to push back against others who are trying to change the world or take it down a path that does not reflect the freedom and independence and integrity of people and of nations and of sovereign nations at that. That's why we must stand up to Turkey and say no to an invasion of Cyprus. That's why, as a nation, we stand up and say no to Hamas and their unrelenting assault on Israel this summer and Israel's right to defend itself. That's why, as an international community, we understand we have to stand up, push back, contain, defeat the evil of ISIS. These are the things we stand for as a nation. But we as a nation reflect the values we bring together as a mosaic of people. And the integration of the Greek community and the Jewish community, the shared history, and the shared understanding that from history comes our future is what's so important. So I just am privileged to be here. I am proud to count you as among my friends. And I look forward to working together to make sure that never again isn't a hollow promise, that no isn't but a memory, but that going forward, we're working to make our world a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. Please allow me to welcome Maya Karmely for greetings from the Israeli Consulate in Chicago.
Shalom. The Honorable Minister Kikilias, Consul General Eunice, and my friends Amy Stoken and Harry Sage from AJC, and of course Andy Zeminides from the Hellenic American Leadership Council. Distinguished guests, Kalispera. Erev Tov, good evening. I want to say that I'm very honored to be here today for OXI Day. This is a very meaningful day for Greece, and this is the day that Greece, of course, this was the first day for Greece in World War II, and this is a day that when Greek really refused letting reality just change without a fight and saying no. In those dark days, every no meant something. Every no was important. Actually, I've been here almost 4 years, and I have to say most of the events that I've done with other consulate and other communities were with the Greek community. And there is really a wonderful collaboration between our two diaspora communities. We've been to events to celebrate our cultures, events to celebrate academic collaborations. We've also been to events to honor the Archbishop Thanoukos as a righteous among the nation. And we've been to an event to commemorate the tragedy of Saloniki, where 60,000 Jews that were deported, most of them died. I want to also mention that these days we're facing an alarming rise in anti-Semitism all across Europe. And we know about all the efforts that the Greek government is doing to face this great challenge. Our governments are working together to face this challenge. And I think that this is really another challenge that is important that we're facing together. But we have to remember all the lessons of the past. We heard all the things that we said no in the past. And I think when there is anti-Semitism, it's important to say okay, to say no. I really do hope that we'll have more events to celebrate our cultures, sport, and academic than to have to face with those challenges. So I'll finish with that. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you, Consul. No diplomat has worked harder on encouraging the relationship between the Greek and Jewish diasporas here in the United States than our own Consul General Ioanna Efthymiadou. Please welcome her to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Peritz. So, good evening to everybody. I have to say that this is a real, okay, Endy says, speak up, okay. That's a real honor and privilege to welcome again Minister now Kikilias in less than a year, and also to be amongst friends to celebrate OXI Day and have all these distinguished guests, not least of them the AJC people from Midwest that I have the pleasure of meeting for 3 years now, which counts that this is my 4th year. And I can tell you that I still remember, and maybe that's a line I repeat, that when I first arrived and we started having our joint events, I was mentioning that if I'm doing a good job, that would mean that by the end of my term here, the two communities, because it's important to know that people is what matters, and the community is what matters. If the two communities have strong bonds amongst them, so they don't really need me or Maya at all to get together, and they just need Endy and Amy, and actually not even them. They get together regardless of the leaders, because we have established solid people-to-people contacts. And I can tell you that actually that inspired our leaders, and they moved so fast that actually in 2 years' time, I wouldn't be needed for this anymore. And so now I see this is so solid, we're even creating traditions, celebrating the OXI Day together. And what's important to stress, though I think almost everything has been mentioned, that's the problem if you are like one of the last to speak, all your lines are stolen. What's important to mention is yet another Greek paradox, because all European countries that kind of commemorate World War II, they commemorate either victories or the end of a war. There is none that actually commemorates the beginning of the war. This is supposed to be a bad thing. It's a suffering brought upon you. So why this Greek paradox, I think, has already been answered. Because it's the proof of our resolve to fight against an evil that seemed to be invincible back then, and against an evil that many big nations, much bigger nations, decided to turn a blind eye on or surrender to have an easy life and maybe save their infrastructure and the lives of their peoples. But we decided otherwise. This resolve is what we commemorate. And that's why if you go on Google and you put OXI Day, you will see pictures from October 1940 where soldiers were almost smiling and they were very enthusiastic going to fight, because that was a joint fight, and that was a joint resolve to defend our country, our values, our way of life. And that's why this common commemoration makes such sense, because our nations, our peoples, they faced the evil. We knew what evil was, and we decided to defend ourselves. We decided not to be bystanders. And that's important to our history. Because, of course, I'm a diplomat, we have many diplomats, proper diplomats or real diplomats working in diplomacy amongst us tonight. And we know that interests are very important in international relations. But trust me, a good, solid foundation of values is what brings us together and keeps us together. So our common values, our resolve to face evil and threats. And evil is not a matter of the past. The monster is not only in the past. Modern threats are there. We just need to be vigilant, recognize them, and stand up in time so that they are not becoming really, really powerful, or they don't swallow us. So that's why our joint commemoration makes such a meaning today. And we couldn't have a better guest here amongst us tonight than Minister Kikilias. And don't fool yourselves by his young age. He has many accomplishments in sports. I should know because Panionis is from my hometown near Smyrni, but okay, that's a private, jokes for breaks. I'm an Olympiacos fan, sorry guys. Here he is revealed. And he has already an outstanding career, not only in sports or in medicine, but also in politics, be it local with Athens or the central political scene, like we say, in the parliament, and now a minister heading one of the most important and most sensitive for keeping our democracies ministries, the ministry that combines actually homeland security and intelligence together. And because there is no democracy without security, and we all know that both in Greece, in Israel, in Cyprus, and in the US. So, Minister, that's a great honor to have you here tonight amongst us.
Okay. This podium is made for Mr. Efthymiadou, not for me. So I got a great speech here, but it's useless, worthless, because it's too far from me, but I don't need it. So, Congressman, Alexi, dear friends, what a privilege and an honor for me to be here, second time in a row. And Endy, Amy, you invited me last year, and somebody asked, well, why would a young politician, member of parliament last year, get in a plane or two and fly to the US and Chicago just for an hour, and then go back home? Well, dear friends here, young kids that talked about OXI Day, men and women, that ancestors, second generation, third generation, well, they went in the boat and traveled for 40 days to get to the US for their dreams and their lives and maybe the possibility of a better future. So, with great pleasure and an honor, I went in the plane last year, and I'm back here this year to be with you. And yeah, the normal thing would be for a minister of public order to be at home today. But I'm feeling great being here, and since everybody has talked in an inspiring way about OXI Day in the past, and let's think that whoever forgets its past, their past, has no future. I will not go back. Those were beautiful, inspiring words. And what I have to do, I think, is talk about the present and the future. So, what is happening nowadays in Greece and in Israel? Well, Greece, 6 years of incision, Greece has lost 30% of our GDP. We got 29% unemployment, 50% unemployment in young ages. And everybody would think that, well, we would already be out of Europe, out of the Euro, Brexit. But as you very well know, us and our friends from Israel, I think we have a different DNA. We were born to be fighters. So despite all that, we accomplished a surplus way before the economic problem, 1 year before. And we went out in the markets 2 years before the problem. And primarily, we hosted this summer 21 million tourists without a problem. And we're a safe country. And yes, the phenomenon of neo-fascism brought memories from the past that everybody would want to forget. But Prime Minister Samaras and his cabinet and the nation were determined to break even real quick. So yes, Mr. Alexi, we are the only European country that has put politicians that are fascists in jail. That is the truth. The European Parliament, they're fascists. They move around Europe talking about their ideas, supposedly their ideas, but we were active and quick, and we brought to the Parliament a new anti-racism law legislation, and well, things are getting better day by day. But we don't forget, we truly understand and remember what was happening back in the days. Nazis, the Axis, our problems, our challenges, the big OXI that we said back then, even further back with Thermopyles and the 300, OXI in Epiro against Italians, etc., etc. But now the war is economic in Greece, and it's a big challenge for us. And you know, we're seeking help wherever we can find it. Here, diaspora. Here, second, third generation Greeks, Greek Americans, people that have succeeded, have done well, inspire us, and that's why I keep traveling here to get power and energy from you, to go back home and keep on fighting. And maybe please talk about, real quick, about a few of these friends of mine. Personally, I don't really believe in political relationships. I don't believe in professional relationships, and truly I don't really believe in social relationships. But I honestly, truly, and 100% believe in human relationships. And like a true friend, I'm here and I stand across Alexi Giannoulias. He was my teammate in Panionios. He's a good friend. I was here back in 2008 when he was running. Well, I guess two guys from the same team, one state treasurer, the other minister. There was something with the Gatorade, I don't know. So I'm glad to see that he's doing great. He was an inspiration to us all back home and still is, and he's a true friend of mine. And the other half of him, Endy Zeminides, he's a Red Bull, he's a true fighter, and what a big inspiration to, I mean, there are battles that many people think that cannot be won. I believe, and he believes, that the only battles that cannot be won are the ones we don't give. So he's a great fighter. Hulk is doing great work, and I'm glad I'm back here every year to celebrate with him, OXI Day, and with you. And that's only half percent, that's only 50%. The other 50% is AJC. Well, I've traveled to Israel again and again. First as a basketball player. I've lived in a kibbutz, Hapoel Galil, Hapoel Ramat Gan, Maccabi Tel Aviv, Haifa, Jerusalem, almost everywhere. I've seen everything. And then Faith and Destiny brought it like and I'm traveling again there in and out in the coast, and seeing people that are true, real fighters. They went in a place in the desert, no water, no resources, surrounded by enemies, and they made it. And they got the second Silicon Valley there, and they're doing great. And when people thought that they were alone, they proved that they aren't. And actually, Andy, we also proved that they aren't. And this cooperation, this working together, AJC and all, Israelis and Greeks, here in Washington, with the caucus, back home, it's very, very inspiring. It shows that, well, if somebody's alone, it doesn't matter how talented he is, he can make 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and that's it. But people united under a common cause can do miracles. And this is what is happening here today. And I feel that this is the message of OXI Day, is people believing in difficult stuff, and visualizing and dreaming of ahead, and doing things that seem to be very, very difficult, almost impossible, and making things happen. And then generations after generations talking about it. So we were talking about OXI Day back then. I really, really wish that this cooperation, this hand-in-hand friendship is something that we will be talking about in the years to come. Once again, thank you very, very, very much for having me here. And one promise. Last year, Amy, you remember I promised that it wouldn't be just words, because I know that politicians have been words, sometimes here in the US, in Greece and Israel. Well, like my friend said, the bad guys are behind bars and got plenty of things to do. Thank you very much.